Thank you, everyone. So I'm Jimmy, and I'm going to talk about what got me involved in the Cyber Ability Project, essentially my cyber scam story, and what I got out of the Cyber Ability Project, and who I think this project is helpful for. So I just want to start by talking about how real the trauma from online scam relationships are, how real the pain from being thieved from by you giving money is, and how it's scams, how it's something everyone's vulnerable to. And I'll tell my scam stories, which is, yes, I said stories, not just story. I'll mention how anyone's vulnerable to it. I've heard people from the general public admit to being scammed, and I know it's a not easy thing to admit. How isolating this problem feels. We don't want to admit this. We may have even suspected this is a scam for some time, but we continue. It's offering a basic human need to us. It is fake. It's the bait for the scam, but it feels so real. Now, there's many types of scams. And my scam story and the support I got, I have a brain injury from the age of 19. And I've been caught up in several romance scams that were not actually from dating sites. They were from new social media applications like Tagged or Scout or Meet Me. And these scams meant that I lost a significant amount of money, and on more than one occasion. But just as significant or more so has been the very big emotional impact that these scams have had. They've left me questioning my own identity and wondering what's wrong with me, something that I'm already struggling with, living with my acquired brain injury. So these new social media applications just kept popping up. In my first scam, I was getting this random message pop up from a new messenger platforms. Started speaking with a girl who I really connected with, talking about significant traumas that we had both experienced. She told me her story of having lost both of her parents because of a car crash. And I openly spoke of my trauma, which is, of course, me being hit by a car. We connected so deeply on this. It was very profound. And I felt I had found and made a true connection, found someone who I really loved and couldn't wait to begin this mystical, wonderful relationship with. Our relationship lasted around 6 years, and we would be on and off a little bit, in and out of communication. I became skeptical. I became skeptical, but then I would forget what I'd learnt critically about my contact with her. And in time, I was realizing she was a feeling like a scammer, but I kept relearning this. This bait was this basic human need to be loved. But even though I was learning this was fake, it still held such deep meaning. I also realized that I'd actually shared some rather private images with this person. I didn't feel all that comfortable telling others about what I was learning was a fake relationship anyway. But then also, of course, there's all these photos in there as well. So it got too much for me, and I made the decision to stop. I don't recall all of the details of how I did this, but I know it was linked to me being asked by her to do things that were just really, really dodgy. And it was me essentially overlooking these things so that I didn't have to accept how dodgy she was as a person. Remembering, of course, that I'm thinking I'm in love with this person. So these things were all red flags. And I was fearful and I was ashamed. And it took a while for me to actually cut ties. I Googled for help. I Googled and navigated a bunch of phone numbers and websites. and services. It was hard work and took time, but I called ScamWatch, and I had a very big chat with them and got a lot off my chest and got some instructions and suggestions from them. And having heard that, I was then feeling more comfortable to bring this up with my family. And they appreciated me informing them and were pleased that I'd gotten support from ScamWatch. My supervisor, even at work, had told me that he had been a victim of scam for money. And he's in fact someone without an API. Now this helped me realize that I'm not the only one vulnerable to this. Now, not having her in my life was hard. I had to let go of this plan I had of me with her. And I began to really seriously question myself. It made me feel very alone. I went through stages of grief, having lost my future self with her, feeling grief stricken. The hardest part was learning that these online risks are ubiquitous, I believe. I regret needing to learn this, but it's a reality. And it means that you have to have a protocol to protect yourself. After all of that, I was still left questioning myself and who I was, how it was possible that I could have screwed up again. And I felt that talking about being scammed was tabooed. And I felt admitting this was so hard as well. I felt like an idiot and I felt very isolated. The cyber ability resources have taught me just how oblivious I was and not acting on red flags. And many of the skills that I've learned in the project actually apply to online life and offline life. Thanks to the Cyber Ability Project, I'm no longer just seeing red flags, I'm acting on them as well with the support of people around me. I feel safer and calmer, and it has changed my life. Now, there are some silver linings to being scammed. I've learned interesting things about messaging and Facebook. I've learned to be a little more of a detective when I meet new people. And I've taught myself some interesting techniques to investigate profiles before I engage in chat. But more importantly, I've learned that I'm a very compassionate man. I just need to choose where I place my compassion. And that there are some very helpful, supportive groups out there and people who understand. I've learned that it's not me who is wrong. What I got out of the Cyber Ability Project is that I felt heard and I felt that I could share a deep, dark experience with authorities who could and did help. I was not treated like an idiot. I didn't have to keep this secret anymore. I finally had someone I could talk to. Speaking with others was so healing to me. I think this program is for all who use social media and the internet. And I think and know that those with a traumatic history have a higher vulnerability to scams, online scams, especially relationship scams, due to serious feelings of isolation that come with living with such a life-changing trauma. Thank you.